Hi there, we're back. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio on this Thursday, November 21st. Great to have you with us. I'm Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgiani, Rich, Jeff, and Ryan, the show team in place. And we thank the affiliates for carrying the broadcast. And we're going to be doing a part two, a continuation, Debbie, of our very lively and I think insightful and helpful conversation yesterday.
Does your spouse resent your relationship with God? That's what we're talking about today. There were 4 folks left on the line yesterday when the clock ran out. So if you want to call back, please call in and just let Ryan know you were waiting yesterday, and he'll happily put you at the front of the line. There's a bunch of people, Beth and Deborah and Jody, Jake. Wow, it keeps going. We have a lot of people. A lot of people are waiting online. So, Jerry, we need a second hour. We just do. Okay. I don't know how we're going to find it. Maybe at 11 o'clock at night or something. But it's just, it bothers me so very much when folks will wait, 20, 25 minutes to get on and they have something to share, and then the clock just beats us,
Yeah, well, if you missed the conversation yesterday, we talked about how marriages, of course, can come under strain from a lot of different things. They can be absolutely beautiful and joyful, but we know, being humans, humanity and human nature being what it is, there can be strains put upon a marriage. And sometimes one spouse or the other, based on whatever factors, might feel a little bit jealous or resentful if one spouse has this real close friend with a buddy, a golfing buddy, a drinking buddy. Maybe a girl's got her best friend from high school. Obviously, if it gets into an outside romantic interest, it's really, really bad. But this dynamic can sometimes play out when one of the spouses is really on a fast-track relationship with God, really fervent for the faith, going to Mass all the time, maybe daily Mass, wanting to pray the family rosary, just very, very holy and pious and devout, and perhaps the other spouse is not quite in that same place, and that's what we talked about yesterday. So if that resonates with you, if it somewhat touches upon your own lived experience as it is right now in your marriage, please call and join us at 833-288-3986.
We want to hear from you, 833-288-EWTN. Please call in quickly. We don't want to leave you on the line when this show finishes, because tomorrow, we're not going to do a part 3, because tomorrow is unscripted, and we must do unscripted. It's a very popular show. So you can always revisit this topic on unscripted, because we don't come to the table with any set topic. You do. So that's wonderful. Just real quickly, Jerry, a little housekeeping. Today was our wonderful planned, scheduled webinar with Tim Staples. And Tim contacted us late last night. He has to jump in the lead role of Catholic Answers Live. I believe Jimmy Akin is under the weather, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's jumping in today on Catholic Answers Live. So he is unable to be with us live on the webinar. We are rescheduling him for next week. So if you signed up for the webinar on jerryanddebbie.com, we'll post there when the new date is next week that Tim can be with us. We're going to get him on somehow this month, because he was planned and we want to talk about Our Lady. So we'll work it in. So if you please tell all your friends, if they signed up for the webinar, it's rescheduled for next week or maybe even the week after. Okay. Just want to make sure. Did we cover that?
Yeah, it's good to know. Debbie and I will actually be on for a few minutes, because some people who signed up are not listening right now. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that message. But right now, we want you to call in. It's your show. You are the guests on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. If you notice, we don't have a third person. Very, very rarely do we have a guest on this program. Why? Because this show is about you. It is your program. You call in. You drive the show with your takes, your insights, your wisdom, your lived experiences. 833-288-3986. Why would we want you to call in and talk about maybe if you have a spouse that is maybe a little bit resentful of your relationship with God? Not just to point that out, but we had a lot of people yesterday who really shared inspiring, I think, testimonies of how through their patience, their perseverance, and their prayer, and just living their faith joyfully, now they're really on a good place, the same page with their spouse with regard to the faith. One lady, her spouse is even now becoming a deacon in the church. So It was a great conversation yesterday.
That is, I know that is just amazing. Praise God for that. And then we also received a lot of text messages yesterday after the show because a lot of you guys, you think about it and you ponder it and you really, have some thoughts afterwards, and so you get in contact with us. And they just some comments that came in that I think are really helpful for this discussion. And they said, be careful to compare your spiritual walk with somebody else's. Every spiritual walk in the relationship with God is unique. It's different. It's on its own pace. And when we start to compare, we can kind of fall into a judgmental phase or maybe even a rigid sense, which is not really helpful for that other person. And also for the person that's on that kind of fast track in a relationship, it's not helpful for them as well. And so they just wanted to make sure that we say, be respectful. It's in God's timing. And I think that was really interesting takes, Jerry. And I think it was worth mentioning again, because I do agree with that. Everybody's unique. The one thing I will say, though, as an adult formation director for many years, I used to say to people all the time, please continually get formed in the faith until you take your very last breath here on earth, because we serve a very big God. Okay. And we belong to a very big religion. Okay. And it takes a lifetime to learn just even a portion of it. And I sometimes I get a little nervous when people say, I got it. I'm in a good place with God. I have a good relationship with God. I don't need to know anymore. I don't know necessarily. I mean, what do you think about that, Jerry? Do you think that's do you think that's a healthy viewpoint, or do you think maybe, we are all called to continue to grow?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, look, God is infinite and eternal, and to know, I mean, He is omniscient. God knows everything. We do not, and I think there's that one place in the Bible that says, something about we are going to go from glory to glory in heaven, and so even throughout all eternity, we'll be hopefully, learning more, increasing more in our knowledge of God and in our own glory and basking in His eternal greatness. So I think, yeah, absolutely, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old one gets to be. I always love to hear when we have people who are in their 70s and their 80s and they're talking about buying this book and that book and learning more about the sacraments and the saints and Mary and all of that. So I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. Okay, so does your spouse resent your relationship with God? That's what we want to hear today on Take Two. All you got to do is dial this number and speak to Ryan. He is just wonderful to talk to. You'll enjoy it at 833-288-3986. And when we come back, we want to hear what you have to say about this very important topic.
EWTN, communicating the faith.
I had to go through fear, and thank God that I overcame the fear, and I just left it up to God, and now there's no more fear, there's just acceptance, and I'm just learning to listen. If you want to be closer to God, you just need to keep following His rules, and your application, your radio station, has helped me to always be positive and continue to listen to the rules and obey.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
This is a Messy Family Minute from Mike and Alicia Hernan. The deepest desire for many of us as parents is to pass on the faith to our children. And to do that, parents need to be very intentional. First, we need to look at ourselves and live our faith authentically, because more is caught than taught. Most kids, especially teens, sense hypocrisy quickly, so we need to live a life of humility by asking for forgiveness, acting with charity, and loving generously.
Next, create a unified Catholic culture in your family. We are called to be in the world, but not of the world, so we cannot be afraid to be countercultural. And last, don't protect children from every failure, because suffering brings maturity. We need to remember that Christ promised us the cross, but He also promised to be with us every step of the way. When we teach this to our children, we are guiding them into mature faith in Christ, who will satisfy all the longing of their hearts.
For more information and resources, visit us at messyfamilyminute.org.
This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. And we had a lot of you on the lines yesterday at the end of the program, so please call back. You're going to go right to the head of the line if you're listening again today. we decided to do a part 2 on this conversation. Does your spouse in any way resent your relationship with God? It doesn't have to be this very antagonistic sort of resentment or anything. It could just be like, oh man, you're spending so much time in church. You go to this Bible study, you go to this prayer group, you go into Mass all the time, and maybe they're just not supportive of you. Maybe they're coming around. We had a lot of people yesterday who said, over time and with patience and perseverance and prayer, their spouses and they are now really both on fire for the faith. That's really what we want to strive for. 833-288-3986. And Debbie, I just want to mention another great program on EWTN is Open Line. It's on every afternoon at 3 Eastern Time. And Thursdays, Father Larry Richards holds down the fort there, and he discusses the new evangelization. So that's this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with Father Larry Richards.
I love Open Line. Also, too, Jerry, when we closed the show yesterday, Marcel had called in from Denver, Colorado, speaking. He's around 18 years old, and he's dating a gal who's an atheist. And he was talking about that this was just very providential that he tuned into the show about, how he should, act and conduct himself when he is in conversation with this girlfriend of his that is atheist. And, I got to thinking about it last night, and I just really believe this strongly, that this is just my personal opinion. This is not like, church teaching. This is just according to me. And that is, don't you just feel, Jerry, that if we just really live out the faith joyfully, if we really believe what we are saying, if we really just try to be the best we can be, kind of like what Matthew Kelly talks about in a lot of his books, I mean, it's going to become so attractive to others that they will be curious as to what we have or what we hold as true or what we believe in. I mean, I think, how do you feel about that? Because I think words are necessary. Don't get me wrong. I think we do have to have those really good intellectual conversations and theological debates and stuff like that in order to move people past what their fixed beliefs are. I get that. But don't you just kind of feel like when you see somebody who's really on fire for the faith, you just go, man, I want that.
Well, there's that saying, and I may get this right or may get it wrong, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so, I think a huge part of living out our faith is not just living it out on our own and having that joy, but letting it be, effusive, let it come out of us and into the lives of other people and love other people and serve other people. So absolutely, I agree with you completely. And, that's it's hard to dispute that. We must live our faith zealously. St. Catherine of Siena says, if you are what you should be, you will set the world on fire. So let us all strive to be what we should be.
Right, but I almost hesitate to say this because I don't want to sound like in any way, shape, or form that I'm being judgmental. But don't you sometimes see like fellow Catholics? They kind of look grumpy. They look angry, and it's like, man, I don't want to. What is it? I feel like we need to really understand that we won that spiritual jackpot, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it too simplistically. I don't know.
No, Mother Teresa used to say about her nuns, what did she say? A sad sister is a bad sister. So really, we have to be joyful. St. Paul writes the Bible's all filled with exhortations to joy. Rejoice in the Lord always. It's not always easy. But especially for those of you who are listening right now, if you have a spouse who is maybe, not as in tune with the faith right now, not as interested, maybe not going to Mass, and perhaps they look at you and maybe they feel a little bit, threatened by, God's place in your life, as opposed to their place in your life. That's what we're talking about right now at 833-288-3986.
And we just heard via text from Gigi and John in New Jersey, and they just said, yep, we Christians are supposed to be the beacons of light that attract people to God. God, who loved us into existence, wants us to radiate that love out to the world. Beautifully said. See, Gigi and John said it so much better than I did.
All right, let's see. We're going to go to your phones here now. 833-288-3986. Does your spouse resent, or is maybe a little bit jealous or a little concerned that you're growing so close to God, and maybe they feel like that's going to, squeeze them out a little bit, where in reality, the closer any spouse gets to God, that's really for the benefit of both spouses. But maybe you have a husband or a wife who doesn't feel quite that way about that. Call in and share how that's going, how you're dealing with that, how you're trying to be patient and loving and kind and witness to the faith, as Debbie was just talking about. 833-288-3986. Okay.
Kathy's up first in, I hope I get your town right, Homer, New York, listening on the iHeart Radio app. And you're a first-time caller. You get the, I'm going to say famous virtual bell here at Take Two. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Debbie and Jerry. Thank you for the show. And I wasn't going to call, but I was listening yesterday, and then I got a call from my husband last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to call and share with them. Because like you said, there are no coincidences. There's God incidences and things like that. But I have a wonderful husband. We've been married 30 years this February. He's a convert, but kind of a part-time Catholic at this point. And he's always considered his faith to be a very private matter, just between him and the Lord. Kind of, he doesn't talk a whole lot about faith matters or anything like that. And our two boys are grown and gone, and I've really had it on my heart. I want to talk to him about sharing our faith with each other, more often and things like that, but I don't want to push. I think when he was growing up, he really felt like it was crammed down his throat, and I think that kind of turned him inward. But then, so I've been trying to think of ways, how do I approach this? But after listening to your show last night, he called me up because he travels all the time for work. He called me up and he's like, do you know how God speaks to me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me about God. And he said he saw this advertisement for a pierogi and wine dinner at a church, and he really wanted to go because he loves pierogies and he loves wine. But he had to work, so he didn't think he would be able to do it. Well, then when he was going through his itinerary for work that day, he found he had a client in the area where that church is, so he can go to church and have pierogies and wine. And he said to me, he's like, see, God speaks to me every day in all these little things. I was just like, kind of like blown away. I'm like, Lord, you're amazing. I mean, it sounds so little and silly and all that, but it touched my heart. And I thought maybe this is a door for me to start to gently approach it.
Well, you definitely know what to put on the menu at home once a week, Kathy.
Right.
No, but yeah, you're right. That's beautiful. Whatever it takes. Debbie was pointing out she was getting these text messages, from people saying, not everybody's walk with God is the same. And think about, in life, not everybody has the same tastes or interests or whatever, and how we're formed in the faith when we're young is so very, very important. I have some very, very dear friends, just extremely devout, very faithful to the church, very charismatic in their faith, and I just feel like they were a little overbearing with their kids. It's just my opinion. And now, they have 5 kids. I think the majority of them are, away from the faith right now and not practicing. And I look at them as a couple and I say, there's a disconnect here. Something's up. But I think even in the most intimate of relationships, marriage, which I've not experienced myself, but Debbie, you could speak to this. It's not always possible to know exactly where your spouse is or what he or she is thinking. And, I think this is great. This could be a really, as Kathy said, to be an open door for a new blossoming of their relationship and with God and with each other.
Well, yeah, and 30 years going strong. And he is, he made that leap of faith into the Catholic Church, Kathy, as you said, he's a convert. And, mm-hmm. I do believe that God works in the simplest of ways, but they're very profound for our spiritual growth. And so that situation that he had with this dinner and then going to Mass there at that particular time, it was meant to be. And it's not a, you even said it, Kathy, and rightly so. You go, oh, it's kind of simple. It's kind of a little thing. No, it's a huge thing, because every time we create an experience that we encounter God, it's huge. It's huge. Think about it. Every time we encounter God through each other, through this radio show, through little things like dinners and stuff like that, or even just chance meetings at the church, or we show up together and somebody says, "Hey, can I pray for you?" That's huge. We are encountering our great and magnificent God, and it's a beautiful thing, and it moves us closer in relationship with Him. So I think this is huge. I love that. I would celebrate all those different things that are happening and take note of it and remind him of that, of how providential that was that he went to that dinner. What did he experience when he was there? May I ask?
Oh, the dinner's it's Saturday. So
oh, it's coming up.
2 more days.
Okay.
He just called last night. Yeah. He called to say, "Hey, I get to go to that dinner."
Oh, cool. Cool. Well, you know what? Here's something that's beautiful. Maybe you could ask him, say, when you go to this dinner, tell me what you experienced. I want to know what you experienced, because it was meant to be. There's a reason he's going to this dinner, and I think it's beautiful, and we're meant to learn and grow every step of the way. And I think the two of you can celebrate that together. I think it's a beautiful thing. I wish more people were open to these God incidences, if you will, because I think they're all around us. I think sometimes the world tells us, keep going, put your head down and just keep going on that treadmill of yours. But I think God is working overtime with all of us right now in big ways and in small ways. Kathy, what do you think?
I agree. And I'm looking forward to the next 30 years with him, and maybe, kicking it up a notch, so to speak, if we can, really start to develop our faith together over the next years in our marriage. I think it's already incredible. I think it'll just be, out of this world if we can.
Well, may I just say something real quick? Create those opportunities. There's wonderful programs in the church. We have Christ Renews His Parish, Acts retreats. There's all sorts of different things you can sign up with. Parish missions. We got Advent coming.
Curcio.
I'm sure your church. Curcio. I'm sure your church is going to do something for Advent. Lent is right around the corner. There's Worldwide Marriage Encounter. For those marriages, not yours, Kathy, but for those marriages that are in trouble, there's Retrovi. I mean, we have all of these resources and opportunities for us to grow. We should take advantage of it. I just had to say that's a big plug for what I feel about how sometimes we don't tap into everything that's around us. What do you think, Kathy?
Absolutely. And I think those would be wonderful ideas for anybody's marriage. And thank you guys so much for this show. I've been listening to it on and off when I can for the last, 3 years now. So it's really a great faith community. And I'm praying for everybody that calls in with their prayer requests and for their, especially the ones that are praying for their children who have gone astray, because ours are kind of in that loop. So it's a fantastic ministry. I'm so thankful for it.
Thank you, Kathy. That's why we're writing the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing your husband's first name with us if you haven't already? So we like to write people living and deceased, and
David.
Just keep David. Okay, another David. We had one a spouse named David yesterday as well. I think you're right on, Kathy. 30 great years of marriage, like you said, and you're looking forward to the next 30, which is just a joy to hear you say. So thank you so much for being with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We appreciate that. It really is a faith family, a faith community that we feel that way, and a prayerful one at that. Go ahead, Deb.
Well, and Kathy mentioned about loved ones that have walked away from the faith. Maybe you want to mention the book that's coming out, probably hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next couple of months. But we 12 stories that we have brought together, and we think we just think the good Lord is leading it. It's pretty amazing. Do you want to share a little bit?
Well, yeah, the Lord put on our hearts to do a book series. We have at least 7 in mind, and they're going to be kind of short books with chapters written by, guess who? You, the listeners of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, because this is your show, and we want you to weigh in. And the number one prayer intention that Debbie and I hear all the time, Kathy alluded to it as well, and I did with reference to my friends, is loved ones who left the faith. And so we have collected 12 chapters. We're working on editing those and processing all of that right now. We have our good friend Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers who's going to write the foreword to it. EWTN Publishing is coming out with this. And so as Debbie said, the first book, we hope and pray it'll be available available for Christmas purchase. If not, it'll be very, very soon, and we're looking forward to that. And we thank all the people who have participated in that project. And please do keep that in your prayers, because Debbie, we want the book to be, it's not going to have 12 chapters of these really saccharine, sugary, sweet, everybody came back to the faith and all is well stories. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly in this book, because that's what life is about.
Yep. Amen to that. Life is messy. And Kathy, thank you again so very much. Kathy, please forgive me too. I have 3 childhood friends named Kathy, so I call them call each of them Kath. So I said that and so please, your name is Kathy, but I feel so close to you already, Kathy. So I'm calling you. I do that to you all the time. I call you Jer instead of. Does anybody ever call you Jer besides me?
Yeah, some people. Yeah, my sister used to call
really?
me Jer all the time. Yeah.
Oh,
but I call
Mary
you Deb,
used to?
so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Does Marty call you Deb?
Yeah, he calls me sweetheart, honey.
Oh, okay.
He always just calls me honey. He never calls me by name. Isn't that funny?
Sweet. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We got Patti on the line. Patti, hang on, in Acton, California. You're going to be next, and we have an open phone line here. This is part 2 of yesterday's conversation on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Does your spouse resent your relationship with God? Maybe wish it weren't quite as strong, or maybe they're not where you are or where you would like them to be. Maybe there's a little bit of a sense that, God has taken a little bit of the place in your life that your spouse should have. Maybe they feel that way about that. We don't want to talk about this just to sit at that place. We want to talk about, okay, how can this be better? How can you be a better person because of that? How can you be patient and loving and kind? And maybe you've seen your spouse really come to a better place. 833-288-3986. Remember, it's your show, so join us.
Deacon Harold Burke Sivers.
We live in a culture today that says that suffering is meaningless, therefore we have to avoid it. What we're talking about here is finding meaning in the suffering that is unavoidable.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
I'm Jerry Usher.
And I'm Debbie Georgiani. We want to tell you about the Inspired by Faith Book Club.
Join us as we gather together and read a featured inspirational book each month and engage in meaningful discussions together.
Want to participate? The details are simple and can be found at jerryanddebbie.com by clicking on the Book Club tab.
Invite your friends and let's spend some quality time in fellowship with the Inspired by Faith Book Club at jerryanddebbie.com.
Father Benedict Rochelle.
There are legitimate differences of opinion in any religion. There are differences of opinion in Catholicism. But in Catholicism, you expect that people will take the teaching of its supreme authority seriously. To go diametrically opposed to those teachings is to not be a Catholic. Someone in the name of Catholicism is sponsoring the destruction of human life, lives of unborn children. And they got the name Catholic on the door. The highest authority in Catholicism and the encyclical Humanae Vitae, Evangelium Vitae, is absolutely clear that no Catholic can support abortion and that Catholics are responsible to take serious action against legalized abortion.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie.
We're asking you today on this part 2 of this discussion, does your spouse resent your relationship with God? Let's just talk about our journey of faith and how that relates to our relationships that we have, even if it's in your own family. It doesn't have to necessarily just be a spouse. It could be, family members, maybe you're in a different path, if you will, from your parents or your children. Who knows? I mean, let's talk about it. That's what Take 2 is all about. We cover it from every single angle, but you got to call in because we don't know what's on your mind or your heart if we don't hear from you. So the number to dial, there's a couple open phone lines, 833-288-3986. And Jerry, we're receiving quite a few emails now. So, folks, okay, real quickly, a little housekeeping, if I may. We are going to be posting the itinerary for the San Antonio informal pilgrimage that we're taking December 6th, 7th, and 8th. We got $99 rooms at the Courtyard at San Antonio Airport North Star Mall. The Courtyard, I think it's a Marriott Courtyard. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So we're going to be posting the itinerary and the block rooms and the link to get your rooms. We're very excited, so we'll be posting that hopefully by the end by tomorrow. And then also to Jerry, I just wanted to make sure our listeners know that it is everybody's on their own, for planning it and everything. We'll post the itinerary, and then we just all meet up and we journey together with this wonderful pilgrimage that we take together. We learn, we grow. We've got a lot of surprises we're bringing, and it's going to be just a blast. I can't wait. Marty's going to be there, so I cannot wait. I got him to take off of work. Tony forced me.
Y'all need to show up, and you'll get to meet the infamous Marty, who is Debbie's husband, who we talk about often on the program, and he is, I'm sure you would agree, Debbie, the wind beneath your wings, and just a very, very important part of your life and ministry. So we look forward to all of you being there. Again, jerryanddebbie.com. We'll have the itinerary up there in the next day or so.
Yep. Can't wait. And that's when we're only 2 weeks away, so we've got to get planning. And it's really easy. And I think it's going to be, I think a lot of folks can afford it and come in and drive in, even fly in. Okay, there is an open phone line. Please pick up that line if you feel prompted by the Spirit to share something about your faith journey as it relates to others. 833-288-3986. That's the number to dial. Patti, she dialed that number. She's listening on Sirius XM 130. And as first-time caller, you get the virtual bell as well, Patti. Welcome to Take Two.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to call and give hope to those that are encountering that jealousy of faith. I truly believe that that's where my husband was, and by the grace of God, he's now with me. We have a ministry called the Sower Ministry, like the parable of the sower. And, but back in the day, it was only me. And actually, I used to travel quite a bit from where I lived to where the ministry was. And we had a business at the time, so it was hard for him to leave it and go with me. But needless to say, it was a distance. I would travel 2 hours, sometimes 3, depending on traffic. And he would come with me every once in a while because he did enjoy it, but he knew that it was definitely changing me. And just like some of the callers would say, it's like, you're changing. And it was like, but I'm like hoping it was a good thing, but I think he was just missing just some of the things that we used to do that I just didn't, that I just couldn't handle anymore. Your spirit starts to change. It's just like even his language, where before it's amazing what the Spirit does, because it was like, can you like not say these words in front of me? It just, I can't handle it. And, even, TV shows that we thought that, it was just, you watch it for comedy, but again, as you grow in your faith, you realize like, this is not good. And I just started, not wanting to be around certain things and hearing certain things. And I think he missed that because he still wanted to, do all these things. And I started separating from all that. And when he said, you're changing, and it basically affecting sort of our relationship because we were going in different directions. And it took years, but slowly every now and then when he would come to the ministry, I know that it would touch his heart, but he didn't always want to go because it was a long drive, and I couldn't blame him for that. And again, talking about spiritual warfare, because it would take me about 2 hours, but it was for sure that it would take 3 hours when he went. Like the traffic was horrible when he went. So it was for sure we were going to do 3 hours. So it was very discouraging for him to want to go. But one of the times he went, Jesse Romero happened to be there, and he was just in awe, just like, this guy's on fire. I've never seen a Catholic so on fire. And I think that was, to me, kind of like the first sort of awakening of him, like, wow, this is amazing, because although he was baptized and made his first communion stuff, as he grew up around a lot of our Protestant brothers and sisters, and so he was kind of following more of that. So when we got married, I was pulling him towards the Catholic Church more, and he would go, but it wasn't exactly his thing. So when he saw Jesse Romero, he was like, whoa, there are people who are on fire for their faith. And, just change of events. We also went to Marriage Encounter that, I heard you talk about that, and that was like another awakening, where he was like, wow, like, this is amazing, because he realized what a man was supposed to do for his spouse was, give his life for his spouse, and when he saw it in that form, he was just like, that was like another awakening. So it was just, change of events, and me continuing to pray for him, and, not forcing him either, because there was a time where he wasn't quite always going to church, and I would just say, okay, well, I'm going, and, and would take the kids, but I would nudge a little, not a lot, because I heard your show, last week about, pushing. I wouldn't push a lot, but I would every now and then say, hey, this is going on. You do want to attend. And if he would say no, I was just like, okay, well, see ya. And so, but just continuing to pray for him, and prayer does work. And I can attest to that, because there's a nun in Spanish. Her name is Sister Blanca Reese, and she talks about an evening prayer. And I was praying this prayer in the evening for him, and I still do for my children. He one time when we had our dialogue, for those of you that know, Marriage Encounter, actually I had, kind of out of desperation, I asked the Lord, like, does this prayer really work? And I kind of like let it go, it was kind of a question for the Lord. And so one of our dialogues, because we do gather with our Marriage Encounter monthly, so one of our dialogues, when he expressed his feelings, he said, it's kind of like if the Lord came to the side of my bed and awoke me. And then I was like, when I read that, I was like, oh, and he's like, what's wrong? And then I was just like, oh my goodness, do you realize that this is the way I pray for you? Like, I pray that the Lord comes and awakes you. And, and I didn't explain the whole thing, but it was just like, that's part of my prayer. And I had asked God to reveal, sort of like, tell me if this prayer was really working, and you're answering through our dialogue. So it's just amazing, but needless to say, again, I just want to tell everyone, don't get discouraged. Keep praying for your husbands. And, I mean, it took, I would say, about 5.5 years for him to, like, fully come in. The ministry, so we were able to have one more locally to where I'm at, which is Santa Clarita, and the minute it started, he got plugged in. He's part of it. We meet every Tuesday, so he's part of it every Tuesday. So it's just amazing what the Lord does. So I just want to tell anybody, don't give up. Just keep praying.
just keep praying. Where is it in the Bible? It says, "Pray without ceasing." Yeah, and you've lived
Amen.
it.
And that's actually one of my favorite scriptures, 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18.
Oh, thank you for Yeah, I'm glad you knew where that was, Patti. Yeah, go ahead.
It's my favorite scripture, because it does. We have to pray without ceasing and not give up. And it's so beautiful, actually, that it says in all things. It doesn't say some. It says all things. And I really emphasize that because there was times that I would be coming from the ministry on my way home late at night, and sometimes, sad, and, that he was not getting everything that I was getting. And I would just say, okay, Lord, you've asked me to praise you, in all things. So I'm going to praise you. I'm going to sit here and praise you and glorify you. And I, alone on my car and just sitting just myself and just praising him and thanking him. And if you don't mind, I want to emphasize this because it says rejoice always. And when I read this to somebody, I say, it doesn't say sometimes. It says always. It doesn't say, it says rejoice always. So it's not just sometimes, it's not in the good times, it's not just in the bad times, it's always. It says praise without ceasing in all, not some circumstances, but all circumstance. And give thanks, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. So, yes, do this always.
I love your spirit, Patti, your enthusiasm, your excitement for the faith, and it's just so beautiful now that your husband and you are really at that same place and now actually in ministry together. I was just struck by so many things you said, and I think one of the things you pointed out, I've never been married, but I think it's probably somewhat common, and that is, people come together because they have similar interests and activities and tastes and hobbies and likes and dislikes and all of that. And then, like you said, your faith starts to go in this sort of an upward trajectory, and that can happen a lot, for two people who have come together basically around the same things, and that starts to change. You made the point you said at one point, you were changing, and this is probably something a lot of spouses can worry about. Like, what is this going to mean? Does this mean I have to change? Do I have to be the same way? Is this going to, mean that we can't do the same things and have the same activities and hobbies and interests and all of that? But, and just one other quick thing, you said your concern was he was not getting everything that he could be getting. It wasn't so much you were not, feeling hurt by this, or it wasn't for your sake that you wanted your husband to come along. It was because you thought there's so much more for him. And now, Debbie, he's getting that so much more. I think Debbie typed a note over to me. Do you want to share
Well, you, Patti, I just love what you had to say about rejoice in everything, always. It goes back to this idea, what I was saying, we should be feeling and walking around that we did win this spiritual jackpot. And here's the thing, it's not so much that when you're learning things about God and you're growing closer to God, it's not like, I'm growing closer and you're not. When you love the people around you, you want to share that. Think about anything great that comes into your life from a material sense. What do you want to do? Hey, Jerry, look at the new watch I got. Hey, Jerry, look at this. I got, you want to share it with people you care about and that you love. There's such a sense of not only celebrating it, but you want to experience it with the ones you love. And I think, Patti, am I safe to say that that's what we all kind of face when we're in our relationships with our spouses? We want us to be together in things because we want to share it fully. What do you think about that?
The most important thing, not just share something, like you said, there might be like a new watch or a new phone, whatever. But this is the most important thing. And so when you figure that out and realize that, this world, I mean, it's going to come and go, but, our spirit is eternal with the Lord if we choose to walk with him. And so, of course, you want everybody to be saved and to know him and to love him. And I mean, when he becomes part of your life, it's just like it's everything. It's and you want you want to share that with everybody. You want everybody to know. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Patti, my life skills trainer used to say this all the time. He used to drill it into our heads. You only know a person as much as they know God. And he used to say it all the time. And we would say, Hans, what do you mean by that? And he said, you think about it. Just meditate on that. You only know a person as much as they know God. And so that's another reason we want to be intimate, right, with our spouses and the people that we love so very much that are in our inner circle, if you will. So we have to get to know where they're at with God, where we are with God. And it has to be, something I think that grows. Patti, great take on this and your life story that you shared. Thank you so much from sharing from your heart. I know you helped. I took so many notes as you were talking, so I can just imagine other folks were absorbing it as well. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time because, people like you, if you step up, you're the teachers here and we learn and grow. And that's important. I think that's what makes this show so special. So thank you, Patti.
Thank you, Patti, for your call.
Praise
Have
be
a
to
blessed
God.
day. Yes. Now and forever. Thank you, Patti, for your phone call and blessings to you and your husband in ministry. Yes, Deb.
Jerry, something exciting that EWTN's doing. Do you want to hear about it? It's
Oh,
really
yeah, right,
cool.
sure.
I'm really excited. I may even call in. Do you want to? I might do it.
Go for
okay.
it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of fun. Okay, so listen to this, folks. This is very exciting. This is from EWTN headquarters. We're inviting you to join us for a very special EWTN Thanksgiving. So all you have to do is call the EWTN listener comment line. Here's the number. 205-795-5773. Okay. And you tell us your memories, traditions, or what you're grateful for. And then listen on Thanksgiving Day as we share your messages with our global audience. So remember, when you call this comment line, just start speaking as if it was going out into the radio airwaves, because that's what's going to happen. And that's pretty cool. 205-795-5773. Isn't that exciting? I think I might do it.
That is really cool. How neat would that be to hear yourself on global radio on Thanksgiving Day? So, yeah, take advantage of that, and we'll be telling you more about that in the coming days. I want to read a couple of social media comments, if I may, Debbie, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Lulu, who watches the video stream on YouTube. Hi to all who are watching on YouTube and Facebook. Lulu says, I wish I could talk about EWTN or my Catholic faith more openly. I have to hide it. I just don't want to hear the hate from my spouse. Debbie, that's got to be a really tough. Let's all be praying for Lulu. Pray for her husband in this situation. Nothing is outside the scope of God's grace to help in this situation. But it sounds like, for somebody like Lulu, Debbie, that's got to be a really heavy cross to carry.
Absolutely. But here's the thing that's a beauty about what Lulu is sharing with all of us. Lulu, you're not alone, because we will experience that hatred towards our faith and Christianity in general from the world, from people that we love on our inner circle, from friends, from colleagues at work. Okay. But here's the great news. We do have places like Take Two, EWTN, hopefully our parish groups that we belong to. If you belong to some ministry groups like a Bible study or something of that nature, where we can be free to express the love that we have in our hearts for Jesus Christ. And I think that brings me comfort, Jerry, because let's face it, we're in a world that is really persecuting Christianity, literally, and in just a kind of just in an overall sense of what they think Christians are. When you think about it, I mean, now all of a sudden we've been labeled as haters. How did that happen?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I watch EWTN News Nightly every evening, and there was a story yesterday about religious persecution. And I think the number that the lady said around the world, 300 million people around the world, or maybe it was more than that. It seems like it might even be higher than that, but live under direct circumstances of religious persecution and aren't able to freely practice their faith. In some countries, we know that Christians are like North Korea, they're put in jail and labor camps and stuff just because they are Christians. So yeah, absolutely. We don't think about that often enough, I don't think, because we have it. We still have it pretty good compared to a lot of our brothers and sisters around the world.
Right. And then I also heard too, somebody texted us and said, can we make sure we pray for the church, the Catholic Church in Japan? I guess it's really suffering. And so I didn't read up on it. Pope Francis is there right now touring that area. And, well, let's face it, the church is hurting all around the world right now because people are mixed up on what they think this life is supposed to be. So we need to pray for everybody, guys. I think we've got a lot of messed up situations in this world, and I think the more we take it to prayer, the better off we will all be.
We also on YouTube, a comment from Dave. Dave, good to have you watching on a regular basis. He said, it's hard to pass your zealous love of our faith on to others. He says, my wife is Presbyterian and goes to Mass weekly, but to place Catholic practices above everything else is a challenge, and I need God's help to do that. It's also hard to convey the depth, love, practices of our faith to our kids when one parent is not on the same page or level or faith. He says, my wife doesn't really object to the things I do or introduce, but I'm not sure how receptive she is. So there's Dave's situation, Debbie. He watches the show on YouTube.
I have to just say, when you have children, please, I used to see this all the time in religious education. It's so important when both parents are on the same page with the fostering of the Catholic faith in their children, and to make sure that it grows and it's a beautiful experience for your children. Please, I just beg parents, come together on this when you're raising your kids Catholic. It's very important. Jerry, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. Can I just say a couple things real quickly about housekeeping again? Okay, I know a lot of you signed up for the webinar, Jerry and Debbie webinar with Tim Staples. Tim is jumping into the lead chair today on Catholic Answers Live because Jimmy Aiken's under the weather. So we have to reschedule Tim Staples. He's so sorry he cannot be with us. He's so apologetic, and we understand it because when you have to jump in, you have to jump in. So he's doing that today. You'll hear him on Catholic Answers Live. We'll reschedule him for next week. So if you signed up, please be patient with us. Also, too, we are going to be posting the San Antonio itinerary for the pilgrimage that's coming up the first week in December. How beautiful is that? Right as we get started with Advent. We want you to join us. We have so many things planned for you for this wonderful pilgrimage that is being planned in San Antonio. And then the other thing too, real quickly, Jerry, this weekend I'm gonna respond to all the emails that we got. Apparently, people are very interested in the menu that I adhere to. And so I will send some ideas of what I do. This is just my personal eating structure, and I'll send an email out this weekend, but I'm just trying to put it in a general form, and we're getting a lot of emails on that as well. Okay, I think I've got everything, Jerry. All the housekeeping, I think, is done.
Well, I want to go back to the pilgrimage for just a minute, because for those of you who joined us in the Northeast in August, we went to the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy and the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. It was impromptu, informal pilgrimage. We just post the itinerary, say, here's where Debbie and I are going to be, here's what we're going to be doing. We would love to have you join us for part of it, for all of it. We have a block of hotel rooms if you have to come in from out of the area. If you live in the San Antonio area, perfect. You can stay at home at night and just join us during the day. But Debbie, the little flower, St. Therese, has followed me around all my life. She has just been right in front of me my entire life. We're going to the shrine of the little flower in the San Antonio area. We're going to the Padre Pio Shrine, which I know you're just giddy about. And we're also going to San Fernando Cathedral. We're going to take a little trip to the Alamo, I understand. We're going to have some social time, some meals together, like Debbie said earlier. Folks, you're just on your own to get there, transportation, lodging, meals, all of that. And we're going to take care of all that for ourselves on our end. And we just look forward to having a fantastic time. And it's going to be the weekend, the first weekend of December. So the 7th and 8th is when that's going to be. And the 8th is on a Sunday. Otherwise, we would be celebrating the Immaculate Conception. So what a perfect time to come together.
It truly is. And the last pilgrimage we did, we had a lot of wonderful things happened to the folks that attended. So we want that to happen to all of us as well for this one for San Antonio. So tomorrow is unscripted. It's very popular. That means whatever's on your mind or your heart, you can ask us anything. You can bring up pretty much any issue, and we will discuss it together on tomorrow's Unscripted. And folks, we just want to say please like us on Jerry and Debbie Facebook page. And until Unscripted tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.
You've heard of the incredible shrinking man? This is Dr. Ray Gurendi. I am the incredible manly shrink. The doctor is in next.
This is Rich Jesse, producer of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.